So you've decided to listen to the Reality Czars podcast. How brave of you. Nate and Paranoid American may think that they're merely discussing cryptozoology, interdimensional realities, and crude humor. But know this, listening to this podcast puts you on a certain list, the Clinton body count, if you will. The truths they reveal are not for the faint of heart, nor the blissfully ignorant. Listen if you dare, but remember, some doors, once opened, cannot be closed. And now, your hosts, those audacious explorers of forbidden knowledge, the Reality Czars, Nate and Paranoid American.
And we're live. Welcome, everybody. This is the Reality Czars podcast, and we're your hosts tonight, Nate and Thomas, the Paranoid motherfucking American.
Well, what?
And we have the great Scott Adams. Oh, God damn it, Scott Adams.
Whoa. Creator of Gilbert. Welcome aboard.
What's up, guys? I've got some incendiary things to say. I'll say some incendiary things. It's all right. We're on YouTube, right?
Armstrong. Dude, we can say whatever we want. I really don't care.
Okay, cool.
All my strikes have worn off, so it's time to get some more back.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm in good graces apparently because I'm being allowed to live stream right now to YouTube. So let's really fuck it up.
Nice.
We have the great Scott Armstrong here from Rebunked News. Welcome, bro. How you
What's
been,
up? Dude? Oh my God, so good. I mean, everything's going great. So glad to be back on your amazing show. You guys are doing awesome work. I was kind of telling you a little bit before the show. I just had an incident, man. I'll tell you what, these hoes be fucking with me, man. These hoes be fucking with me hard. So what happened was, as I found out that the hose that I used to water my garden, I left the water on, and I guess the hose burst, and I guess it's just been running for a few days, and so we got the water bill this month, and it was like $200 more than it normally is. So I'm like, that was my bad. So I was like, I'll eat it. So because I live with a couple other guys, and it's just like, all right, I'll take the hit on that one. So these damn cheap hoes be fucking with me, dude. Buddy? Cheap hoes, man. Cheap ass, dirty ass hoes, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna think in the future. You're gonna think back to like, man, I remember when I could just like waste gallons and thousands of gallons of water for just $200 before it was like $200 a bottle, right?
Exactly. Oh yeah, exactly. This would be the good old days. I didn't know how good we had it, right?
I mean, waste it while you got it, man. At least waste water while it's cheap.
Yep, exactly.
Dude, you really never fucking know. Like, I'm always waiting for the shoe to drop. I'm just paranoid, I guess. You're the paranoid American, but I think I'm more paranoid than you. Because, like, I was at work and the electricity went out and everything shut down and we were checking and everywhere else. I was like, oh, this is it. We're done. We're back to the Stone Age.
Yep. I know how that goes. Anytime like the lights flicker, the lights go out, or like my cell service drops out, which has been happening a lot lately, which is really weird. Like I'll just get like no data for a minute. I'm like, oh God, is this it? Is this we run into the bug out location? What's going on?
Grab the bug out bag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Crazy. So what's going on with you guys? What's new?
Dude, we're just fucking having fun.
Yeah.
I've been working like god awful. And I don't know, Thomas, what have you been up to? You've been busy, dude. You just got back from vacation too?
Yeah, I went to Salem and Boston for about a week. I was pushing some of my comics into the local shops around there. And dude, I've been hard at work on so many different. I don't want to take over, but like I've been freaking like in my little cave, in my safe space, in my little bubble, and just cracking out like the most horrific and offensive works that I hope to at least lose some followers over.
That's the goal. You got to weed them out. You got to prune the garden every now and then.
Yeah, you got to give a little sour before you can taste the sweet, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, buddy. I'll start shitting on like liberals and Democrats for a minute, and then I'll get a bunch of MAGA people, and then I start shitting on Donald Trump, and then I'll watch it. My followers go.
That's awesome. You see the new shirt I put in my shirt shop?
Mm-mm.
I think I posted on like Instagram and stuff. It's let me see if I can pull it up here. It's pretty funny. But anyway, yeah, I love doing that. Like, well, this one is like in line with that where it's like people don't even know.
Are we on board? Is everyone still on board the Trump train? Or are we all going to Biden town? Or like, what are? I'm waiting for the new nicknames. That's the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to. I don't really want the political season, but I want to know everyone's nickname that Trump comes up with.
Yeah.
Because it's like his gift. Like if there was one thing that he was put on this earth to do, it was to just like meme people into the ground.
Exactly.
That was fun. Yeah, for sure. At least like the debates, the Republican debates, dude, they were the fucking best.
There it is. So I jumped on the Trump mugshot campaign, right? Because everybody's doing the Trump mugshot. But there it is. Trump wanted for vaccine genocide. So
it's public domain, right?
Like,
yeah,
that's our image. That's not his image. That's our
exactly.
image of America. So
exactly.
we should be able to do anything we want with it.
Exactly. So like the lefties are going to see Donald Trump wanted, yeah, and then their eyes are going to scroll down to the bottom of it and be like, wait for vaccine genocide, and then they're just going to glitch out. They don't even know what to do with it. And all the MAGA people will be like, what? It's just boomers are just going to erupt. So anyway, there's that.
Love
You're going to cause them to start voting for Trump and grows.
Exactly. So it's fun, man. It's fun. Like this election, I don't know. I'm going to be definitely on the sidelines, just observing and making fun of it, but I'm not going to get sucked in. I'm already made
Do you vote at all?
I mean, I have. Yeah, I definitely have. Like in 2020, I felt like, everything was on the line and that my vote mattered more than anything. I had to put mine in the hat for Donald Trump. I had to do it. It was a very intense night. It was a very fun night. We really went all out. Like one of my friends, actually, it was Megan's house. Like back in the Truthzilla days, like Ed and Megan and I, like we all went over to her place, and she had the whole house decorated with like "Don't Tread on Me" flags and "Back to Blue" flags, American flags, like just like the whole thing. It was like balloons, and we made a bunch of food. We were sitting there watching like the InfoWars election coverage on the big screen, and we were just like, America, yeah. And then,
dude, I cringe sometimes. Yeah, there was like a minute when I went from like hard Democrat to like the exact opposite, and so I was like a fucking right wing shithead, and like I bought like an American flag hat and stuff, and I was like, dude, Jesus Christ, I like cringe at that shit now. It's so fucking terrible. I was all patriotic for a minute.
Scott, were you ever?
One time,
I was gonna ask, were you ever left wing? Were you like aligned with the liberal cause even as a kid?
No, actually, well, I grew up like my mom was like liberal, and my dad was conservative. So that was basically in the household. Like the only time I ever saw my parents fight was over politics, and then they made this resolution to never talk politics again. And I literally never saw them fight ever again. They're still together, and so I just remember like I'd go on trips with my dad a lot. Like we rode around a lot, and we'd always be listening to like Michael Savage, the guy that coined the term liberalism is a mental disorder. And my dad would just talk mad shit about liberals, dude. And this is like in the 90s, and so like I got that pretty early on, and I was always like, yeah, these liberals are crazy. And so I've been pretty conservative, in fact, to the point where like during the 2000s, I was like, yeah, we gotta go get these damn terrorists. I hate our freedom, all that stuff. And so I believe there was a brief period of time where like maybe around like the Bernie era, when I was like, that's interesting. And it is interesting too, because I there's a few things that I've kind of just, oh man, it's really interesting. So I used to work as a drug and alcohol counselor, right? And so a lot of the clients that I worked with, this is back in Oregon, and in Oregon they have like this thing called Oregon Health Plan, which is basically like universal health care. Everybody gets on it, and a lot of the clients I had like wouldn't even have access to treatment if it wasn't for that. So I was like, well, that's interesting. So I'd like to, but to me that says that, okay, so maybe that's not the answer, but that means we have to go back and fix the whole system first. You know what I mean? Like that sort of thing.
Oh, is that all?
Exactly. But it's like seeing that, and then here I'm now in Tennessee, and they don't have like a program like that. And so even though I don't work in the field anymore, I'm still really involved in like the recovery community, and I talk to people, and they talk about how like access to treatment's more difficult for people. And so I'm just like, that's interesting. So in that little kind of microcosm right there, I'm like, if we had ways to help people get access to treatment, that would be nice, I guess. If we're going to have a government, I wish they would do something that would actually benefit the people, but we know that's not the business that they're in. So it's really interesting. I've had a lot of these ideas challenged just by real life experience, and I'm not quite sure how to reconcile it, honestly. So
Yeah, it's a wild one, man, because I grew up poor as fuck, dude.
Yeah.
And so I was like a welfare kid, government cheese, you know what I mean? Like powdered milk, the whole fucking thing.
Hmm.
And the hardest one for me to get over was that I was like, well, where welfare has to be good because you're just feeding people. Like you have to.
Yeah.
And I mean, if that's all that the government did, I probably wouldn't bitch that much. You know what I mean? Like if my taxes were going to something and they were actually going to feed poor people, I'd be like, I got much bigger fish to fry. You know, I'm not going to bitch about that.
Yeah.
But it's when you find out that like they're taking a shit ton of your money and literal pennies are going to the poor people, and the majority of the money that's going to welfare is going to like the bureaucracy to pay for all the social workers and all like the whole fucking infrastructure, the whole thing. Like it's all just a giant way to fucking steal your money.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And taxation is theft in general, but you know, I'm not gonna fucking complain too much. Literally, if they were giving the majority of it to people that were fucking needy.
Exactly.
I mean, are there people that are fucking milking it? Hell yeah, there is. I fucking grew up with those people. I knew them. I knew people that would fucking work under the table or they would work just a certain amount of hours because they worked any more than they would lose their fucking benefits. And it actually keeps people in a fucking cycle of poverty. I remember when my mom was like, was trying to get off of welfare. And it's hard to get off of it once you're on it. They like try to keep you on it because like you realize that you're the product. You're like keeping all these people employed. You know what I mean? So the welfare office doesn't want you to get off. They need you to be on it because that's like more money for them.
Yeah, exactly. It's a vicious cycle, you know, and then you create people dependent on the state for their subsistence, and then they're
intergenerational, man.
And then they you know, and then they have like a voter for life, you know what I mean? And so they got somebody that's not going to vote for policies that, you know, could potentially take that gravy train away. So
100%.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I don't know what the solution is. I mean, I know like in the kind of the voluntarist like model, it's like, you know, we have these old private firms that would do it. So it's like in a way it's not taxation, but we're voluntarily paying these systems to create the infrastructure that we want. And so it's like the government stands in theory as a way to kind of facilitate that transaction, but it's just completely bastardized. You know what I mean? And it's just corrupt beyond belief. And so I don't know. I just wonder, like in a completely like voluntarist type society, like well, I mean, I know like the theory, like, you know, if one organization is getting all corrupt, then we just stop paying that one. We pay this one over here. You know what I mean? And so it's like,
but what if theirs doesn't taste as good?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a weird one, dude. I'm less and less of a fucking libertarian every day.
Yeah,
it's fucking wild.
I've had a lot of those ideas challenged. Definitely, you know, the idea of like Owen Benjamin talks about it a lot. He talks about the idea of like, you know, and so like private security firms, like you don't want Taco Bell having an army. Like they'll just like these corporations, they'll just like have an army. It's kind of like all of the banana, like the idea of the banana republic, you know, a lot of the ideas of like these fruit companies in South America were like, you know, creating armies. Like these corporations were creating armies, and they were just like overthrowing governments, basically, like all these like United Fruit Company and all this shit, you know.
Well, they were creating armies with this like subtle backing of, and if you fight back, America will come in here and really
totally
you down.
Yeah, totally.
So it was like an Israel dynamic going on, like
Israel, CIA, like it was very interesting.
Like you got like the little like you know, like the little bully that's like poking everyone in the chest, and then like this huge, you know, big brother USA that's like do something.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, theoretically, dude, if the Rothbardians had their way and you press the button and government disappeared in 1 second, right? Who's going to step into that role? Because you just made a giant vacuum. You think the oligarchs are just going to give up power? All of a sudden, like you said, Amazon's going to have an army. Why the fuck not? Jeff Bezos, one of the richest men in the world. Elon Musk is going to have an army. They're going to go to war.
Space
lasers,
this
could be very entertaining. Like,
you don't even need an army if you put enough satellites up there that can beam you back down. I mean, like, you know, that's the military strategy. Whoever gets the highest ground wins. So, I mean, Elon wins at that point, no?
It's very true. That's very true. But the idea of the vacuum as well, it's like, you know, you just have some cartel step in, and it's like, you know, you get rid of the government, and then okay, so then what do we do with all of these like crazy ass people everywhere? Just be complete. Like, I don't want to have to deal with that. You know what I mean? And it's like the second that okay, let's say we
Well,
do.
that's against the non-aggression principle, and
Yeah,
everything
I
would
know.
actually work its way.
Well,
Go
it's
ahead.
assuming that people have, the type of morality that we like. We're good people, and we like to assume that other people are, but not everybody is. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
dude,
you have,
that's the whole thing, especially
Yeah.
with libertarianism. It's like when someone even just hints that they might be a little bit libertarian, it's like, okay, so you actually find economic theory interesting enough to have a conversation about versus 99.9 repeating percent of the rest of the population.
Yeah.
So you're already in this tiny little, bubble in a way that you even care about a certain aspect of the politics. But then
Mhm.
my mind always goes to like, capitalism has greed and immorality and corruption sort of baked in a little bit. It's like
Yeah.
it's a feature not a bug sort of situation.
Mhm.
And that's kind of where like communism falls down, where they never introduce like the human element. Oh, once you throw a human in the system that starts hiring all his friends and his family, it crumbles because it hasn't taken that to account. And I'm just really curious, like, what the libertarian aspect of that is. Like, does libertarianism just say, everyone will just be really good and they'll all be on their best behavior, and if they're not, then like we just won't buy shoes from them and they just won't have any goods? Or is there something in it, that would actually like sort of
Theoretically, a
embrace
libertarian
that
would say
chaos?
we don't believe in man, what do you call that? IP. So there's no intellectual property. So like, if this company was stepping out of line, then a competitor would come in and step in, and
I
then
mean,
you would vote with your dollars, and
that's
then
China, right? It's like,
yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
we can make this faster, cheaper, and better, so we're gonna go ahead and take that from you now. You no longer have to make this, we'll make it.
Well, dude,
Yeah.
I mean, the guys like the intellectually consistent people that I know that are libertarians, they don't have a problem with that. They just want to be able to compete with it too. They just want to say fuck all patents.
Is this like the Steinberg, everyone is a deferred millionaire or something? Or every poor person's like a scorned deferred millionaire?
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
But I
Maybe.
mean, the whole idea though of fucking capitalism. I mean, I am, I guess, a capitalist, I guess, but like the whole idea is like you absolutely, at least in this context, at least in the American empire, you need a lower class. You absolutely do, because to keep up consumerism, you need people that are going to like be the peons and keep it going. Like, I need guys, like, if I want to eat a cheeseburger, I need assholes to make cheeseburgers. And then I need people that wash dishes. Like, you need that lower rung.
Can you name a single society on the planet that doesn't have a system of caste or class, though? Like,
No.
even in like the up, like even you go to Bohemian Grove, right? This is like the richest of the rich and the most powerful. Even within there, they've got their own little camps. And if you're not in like the big boys hillbilly camp, you can't even walk by without getting like a stink eye of it. And I'm sure even within the hillbilly camp, there's like no one gets to go in that room except for Gog and Magog. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like all the way up, man, there's never a single point of time when there's not some kind of like a class system. I think the real thing is like, where are those bands, right? If everyone's in a caste system, but it's way up here versus like the range being like that, where you've got people way down there and way up here. Like, one idea is that you just squish everything down and now we're just all kind of shitty,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well,
Or
that's the whole idea of like socialism, right? Like in a race, if there's one really fast guy, they're going to chop his leg off.
right,
so it's as
everyone
slow as
thinks that
everybody else.
socialism's like this,
Yeah.
right? Like everyone just gets better, and really it's like
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing, where you just have to start to realize that there are natural hierarchies and you just have to embrace them. I mean, there just is. There's natural classes. Like, I'm 5'9" with shoes on. I'm never going to be in the NBA. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? There's just natural hierarchies that happen. Like, I don't know, dude. Like, there's smarter people than others.
Well,
I don't know.
can I
Like,
just
the
throw a
whole
little
idea
wrench
of
in
like
this?
a hierarchical, classless society that like anarchists and libertarians want, I think is fucking delusional.
Well, I'm curious,
And
Scott,
I
too.
mean to consider myself an anarchist, but
What about like professional sports, right? Like
Mhm.
like the most highest paid football or basketball or baseball players or anything. Like, what do you think about that dynamic in general? Are they providing a service worthy of that kind of payment? Should there be caps? Should that be anything? Like, the biggest one is always compare like the best teacher on the planet versus the best baseball player on the planet. Like one of them is probably making 40 grand and one's probably making like 40 mil.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really interesting question. I mean, maybe we need to create some sort of like competitive teacher thing where they'd get like
A
MVPs and
subsidy?
slam.
Is
Yeah,
this a
or
subsidy?
no, not a subsidy. Like we create like the American Teachers League, the ATL, right? And then they just like have teach offs, and then it's like, and then they have the teacher Super Bowl, and then they get sponsorships, and then they could make that $40 million paycheck. You know what I mean? And it's like uh but I mean, maybe we just need to go back and create a culture of where that gets propped up as virtuous,
But in
as
our
like as
bizarre,
entertainment.
twisted,
Yeah.
like Western civilization that we're in right now, this like downward spiral, it's going to be like the teacher that turns the most kids into trannies.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, it really is true. But it's like, it's just what gets propped up and what gets it's all like the bread and circus thing, right? So it's like these are like the modern day gladiators, basically, the professional athletes. And so it's to the system's advantage to have them be propped up and focused on instead of people focusing on other things. But it's like, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's not like all this like teachers aren't getting like Nike deals and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of money in professional sports. And so, the market has determined that that's where the money flows as opposed to like teacher salaries. It'd be nice to recalibrate what is important in the world and what, and then give these teachers $1 million to teach each year. But, until they start getting like Nike sponsorships, you know what I mean?
Dude,
But I don't know. I totally get it. I totally hear what you're saying. But,
I've met 2 teachers in my life that I thought might be worth getting paid $100,000.
Yeah.
That's honestly that's the hardest part for me, is that when you look at it in like a vacuum, like the abstract concepts, teacher versus basketball player, immediately it's like, yeah, the teacher deserves more. But then when I go through like my personal experience, like, man, I hate teachers. I hated school. I would rather just like have that money just burnt in front of me than have gone into the school system in a lot of cases. Like in a lot of ways, school made me hate learning because it was like this Rockefeller medicine sort of like Prussian, system where it's like learn how to make widgets and cogs. And I feel like that's going to turn around on them too, because imagine you spend 2 centuries just like pushing people into these like skills and lower trades to just keep them busy, right? And then AI comes around and it's like, like now what are all these people that we've been training to just use like the left side of their brain forever? What are we going to do with all these people? Like they don't have any actual use. Now we really do got to give them busy work. Instead of just training them for it. Now it's like we got to create the work that we train them for that's no longer relevant. And to me, the only thing that sort of stands outside of that is entertainment, right? Like, I can see people saying, I don't want to watch that stupid robot football. I'd rather watch, like human football. But no one's going to be like, oh, I want, the human burger. I want the human car, the human painting, if it's like not even a chance between the two, unless you're in that higher class where you're like, oh yeah, I'll drop $100,000 on a human created sketch. No one makes those anymore, right?
Yeah, but the cool thing about our capitalist society is like this teacher that is discouraged and kind of disillusioned with making 30, 40 grand a year could leave that, go, and in theory, create their own curriculum, create their own website, create their own like homeschooling thing. They could create like their own network and they can build it out and they can create like an institution and they could make millions of dollars. They could create something like that.
Only
like
if they get accredited by the system that they're competing
not
against.
not even that. Like you could totally just do like online classes. You could start a YouTube channel. You could like become like an influencer in that realm. You know what I mean? You could take that skill set and you could go out and create your own like parallel system. It may not be within their system, which who cares? Who cares? Like I don't need to have an accredited degree, but I can provide education for people. And I think we're like, I know so many people that offer courses and that learn just from courses, and you take that information like in like the realm of like entrepreneurship, like Richard Grove's autonomy course, stuff like that. You take that information, you go out there and you build something with it, with that knowledge. And so it's not about proving that knowledge to anybody else. It's like, actually, I mean, that's what we should be teaching anyway. Like, it's not about proving how smart you are, what degree you have. It's like, here's some information, take that and go do something with it. And so people that are creating platforms and giving information that's actually valuable in the real world, and people are able to use that to leverage their own wealth and success. Like that's what people should, that's something that would be somebody who deserves that $40 million a year. They can create their own institute of higher learning. You know what I mean? So,
I kind of just wish they could possibly like treat kids like individuals instead of like treating us all the same. Like especially with the what is the Common Core kind of crap, where
Yeah.
like every single person is treated the same way and like taught the same curriculum, the same kind of crap, and they force you to learn like. They'd make me like sit down for art class and make me paint a painting. Like I didn't want to fucking paint. Why are you forcing me to do this? Why do I have like an hour a day where I'm being forced to paint? Like if they took kids as individuals and they like assessed them and they were like, hey, this kid is more interested in more active things. Like, because I did terrible in school when it was things that I didn't care about. Like I just wouldn't do any work. I was not going to sit at my desk. I wasn't going to be quiet. I was going to go talk to this cute girl over here and I was going to get her in trouble too. And that's just what I was going to do. You were not going to make me sit in a desk for, and they would just oppositional defiance disorder and all kinds of stuff. They called me all kinds of ADHD. They gave me a slew of pills and told me I was a piece of shit. Wow. And then, you know, I ended up graduating with honors in high school because I found things that I was interested in. But like, I wish that they had given me an opportunity because like what my job now, I'm working in a machine shop and like making parts like with like CNC machines. Oh, nice. I enjoy the shit out of that. Like if they had like options where they're like, hey, you're more mechanically inclined. Why don't we start doing this over here? Oh, you're more mathematically inclined. Do you like this kind of thing? Do you like computers? Do you really like art? Hey, why don't we sit you over here? You can do fucking art, kid. But it's like they don't give a shit. Like they just need you indoctrinated. They actually intentionally retard you. Like they want you to be stupid. They don't want like I hate it. It's fucking stupid.
Homeschool's the answer. I don't have kids, but someday when I do, that's gonna be the ticket right there, man. Like,
well, that's what Randy Weaver thought too, though.
Shouts to Randy Weaver. Yep. Yeah. Shouts to Randy Weaver. Yep. Yeah, man. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they were all onto something. I don't know.
Well, I absolutely think Randy Weaver is onto something. I mean, maybe not the race war things that he was like trying to run away from, but trying to run away from the federal government and live his own life any way he wanted. You know, he could do his own thing. I don't care if he was racist. I don't fucking care. He just wanted to live in a cabin by himself.
Yeah, dude, he was being racist.
All he wants in his cabin.
Completely isolated from the rest of society. Like, be as racist as you want in your little log cabin. Like, write the worst, you know, like Dear Diary, you know?
Exactly. That's hilarious.
That's the libertarian in me where I'm just like, I don't care what you do with your own personal life. You're not hurting anybody. Go fucking do it.
Yeah, so like, man, I mean, this is like Walter Block area where it's just like, what about this? What about this? But man, one of the ones that always catches me, it's like you drop Scott and Nate off in the middle of, you know, an empty field and you guys divide it directly in half between each other. And you're like, this is cool. We're both kind of equal. And then for reasons completely unrelated to either of your doings, like Nate gets no rain and it's all on Scott's property. And all of a sudden Scott's got all the food and Nate's got none of the food. And it's not because Nate wasn't working and he wasn't like planning and doing everything that he needed to. It was just like the weather screwed him out of all of his food for that year. So now it's like, Scott, are you obligated to give Nate some of your stuff just because he's your neighbor? And then what if you've got 5 other neighbors? And then what if like there's another Scott a mile away and none of his neighbors needed help? So then it's like, shouldn't he share that? And then it just keeps expanding and expanding until it's just like, you know, turtles all the way down.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's such a good point. So I don't know how you reconcile that. I guess we're gonna need to
fix it. We're gonna fix it on this show.
Yeah.
No one's leaving until we've got this sorted out.
Well, I guess the libertarian, like I love Walter Block. Walter Block would say something like, "Well, isn't there something that he has that Nathan has on his property?" And then we would
maybe he's got shoes and you need a belt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love Walter Block. We had him on the show not that long ago.
Nice.
He's awesome, dude. He is the coolest person to talk to about this.
Yeah, I guess I'm not too familiar with his work. I'll have to.
Oh, dude, Dr. Walter Block at the Mises Institute. He's the fucking shit. He wrote a book called "Defending the Undefensible." I'm pretty sure that's the name of it. Yeah, Defending the Undefensible. Anyways, he just writes like devil's advocate for like the worst people on the planet.
Okay,
and he's just brilliant. He's an old snarky tiny Jew and he's fucking hilarious and he's really sweet. I got to meet him a couple years ago.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah, that sounds really cool. Wow. Yeah, nice.
I think at a certain point a lot of libertarianism ends with well, tough titties. Like that's kind of where it, like there's a lot of dancing around that and being subtle, and it's like, oh well, it's how, like, it's very Socratic, like, well, what do you think? Do you think that's fair? And it's like, no, I clearly don't. That's the premise here. And I think that it usually resolves to like, well, some people just don't have that kind of luck. And it's the same thing with like geographically, like Nate, you were like, well, what if I wanted to go to art or I wanted to go to machinery school? Like, how do you even know unless you've got like 50 different options around you? And if you're Randy Weaver style, you don't have 50 options around you. You've got like, I can go and kill that animal over there. I can go and pick that, that crop over there. And that might be your only options. And that's entirely based on just like your geographic region. Like, again, something that you don't have a lot of control over.
Well, at that point, you're in survival mode, and you don't even get the option of being like, I want to be an artist. Like it's just fucking survival at that point, which I think we're going to be at. Like, speaking of like power outages in the fucking world,
right? But I mean, I'm going to make an argument that survival might soon become who can do the most entertaining things. Like you're not going to have an option to go and kill and hunt for your own food. It's like, how much can I entertain the rest of the world in order to survive? Which is a strange, like a flippening effect. Because I don't think any other time in history you didn't have the option to just like go out and hunt, but it might become like that.
Yeah, but then, if it gets to that point, then everybody's going to be trying to hunt at the same time. I thought about that too. It's like, what if we get to that situation, then everybody's going to be out there trying to shoot stuff, and then you're going to be
for sure, dude. I mean, that's so many people's plans where there's like, I'm ready. I've got my gun. I'm gonna hunt my food, and then you're like you just said, Scott, like every motherfucker is going to be out there hunting fucking deers, and they're going to be gone in a minute. And then also, okay, this will secure 100% our YouTube strike tonight. The FDA, who the fuck was it? USDA, one of them, started fucking vaccinating wild groups of elks and deer, like millions of them, with mRNA fucking vaccines. And so all these hunters that think they're going and bringing home clean meat, that's not, they're bringing home the spike proteins and people are eating them up.
Wow.
Fucked. Look that one up. I'll try to. Thomas, remind me I'll add that article into the show notes. I always say that I'm gonna, and then I forget. But I'm going to this time.
You'd be like Alex Jones and start like holding them up. Look at this here.
I have the document. I have the documents. Yeah, I have the documents, guys. Yeah. Man, that's crazy. I think that's I mean, I've heard reports that the mRNA is already in the food supply quite a bit, like with the pork, with pigs, and that's one of the things that we're trying to keep an eye on. Is definitely here in Tennessee, they're trying to pass legislation that forbids like the use of mRNA injections on livestock. So we'll see how that goes. But
based on how sneaky they've been, though, man, like it feels like it would be one of those things they would just do it first and ask for forgiveness later. They'll like deal with angry grandma and angry mom and then apologize to the kids as they grow up, right?
Yep.
Well, dude, it was like, what the fuck? Was it Walgreens or Target? Or I think it might have been Rite Aid. Anyways, so this family came in for their flu vaccines like morons. So they sat there and get their flu vaccines. And this was before like kids were okayed for the fucking death MAGA jab.
Yeah.
Or the Brandon boosters, right? And so they accidentally gave them the COVID vaccine and all their kids. And then they were just like, oh, I'm sorry, because they had been like outspoken. They were like, no, we don't want that. We just want our flu vaccine. And then the fucking Rite Aid was like, hit him with that hot shot. And then they're like, we can give you a gift card. We're sorry about that.
That's hilarious. Yeah. I mean, it's not hilarious, but
it's awful. I mean, dude, if you're dumb enough to get your fucking flu vaccine, like, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, the last couple fucking, like, last 5 years they've been messing around with mRNA kind of shit.
I think it could be hilarious. I think you can call it hilarious. What's the, I think it's a Voltaire quote, but it's like, God is a comedian playing to an audience too afraid to laugh. And I feel like that represents, the most accurate version of what's going on here.
I like to think that this is all just fucking fake and gay, and that when we die, like, our spirits are fine, and we're just gonna go back up into, like, the great fucking connection, and then we all come back down, and like all this is a big fucking giant joke, and and none of this really matters. But I don't fucking know it, bro.
Yeah, I feel like it's just getting so bizarre, so absurd that it's like we're just getting trolled.
This is a comedy sitcom.
Yeah, it's
right?
definitely it's pretty
Right?
hilarious. Like I'm at the point now
Right?
where I just think it's hilarious. And it's gonna get even crazier this next year. It's just gonna ramp up to an absurd degree, and I'm just gonna be here making fun of it the whole time. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to the
Yeah.
clown show.
clown show. It's been hilarious, man. But I tell you what, though, these last few years, I'm sure you guys maybe you can relate to this, but like I feel like had it not been for COVID, had it not been for all the nonsense, I never would have started podcasting. I never would have gone down this route. I never would have gone down this road. I never would have met all these people. I never would have had all these opportunities. And I feel like, I mean, I just leveled up so much, and I'm so grateful for all this. So, it's like that anti-fragile mentality where it's like, some crazy obstacle gets put in the way, and it's like, yes, let's just push right through it and use it to our advantage. And it's like, I love it. I was kind of joking on my show where it's like they're talking about all this COVID, all the COVID madness is coming back. I'm like, yes, this is gonna be awesome, dude. I get to dust off all my old memes. I get to talk a bunch of shit. I love it. I can't wait.
Yeah, buddy. I was going through my old fucking because I've made thousands of memes over the last few years.
Dude, your memes.
And I'm going through the old fucking files right now. I got some fucking gold, dude.
Yeah,
I made some pretty good memes.
You did. Yeah, you're legendary. Legendary. So now you get to bust them all out again. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
buddy.
hilarious. That's hilarious. And so bring it on. Bring it on.
We
This
get
time
election season again, and we're gonna get Trump versus Biden again.
Oh my
maybe. Just fucking.
Oh, dude. I don't even know how they can pull off the whole Biden thing. I just don't know how it's even possible. I don't know how it's possible. There's no organic like Biden supporters out there. There must be like 12 maybe in the whole world.
Well, wasn't it the most most votes in history of all, even including Obama, first black president to ever run? Joe Biden still just wiped the floor with him. Like,
yep.
And if that went the first
Donald
time,
Trump got the very most votes ever, except for Joe Biden, who got even more of the most votes ever. And then if you added those together, it was more than there were registered voters. And nobody wants to talk about that.
Well, that's just enthusiasm. That's the math of enthusiasm, man. That's nationalism, patriotism.
That's hilarious.
This was the most safe and most clean and most fair election ever.
Exactly.
See, that'll save the YouTube video right there. We'll be fine.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, it was the safest. It was the best. It was very clean. Donald Trump is a Nazi. So there you go. Yeah. Oh, these Nazis everywhere. Nazis are everywhere, man.
That kind of fell out though, right? Like it seems like that might come back if Trump were to get back in power, because then it's acceptable to start calling your neighbors and your fellow man horrible things because if a horrible man's in charge, then it's like you have to fight fire with fire, otherwise you're kind of bending over and just taking it. But which is interesting because we started out talking about like how like the Republicans versus the liberals, right? And Nate, you're like, well, I'm on a welfare, so of course the liberal Democrat thing. To me, growing up, it was probably also part of the upbringing, but it was like the Republicans just seemed mean. They just looked mean, like. It was like George Bush running against Clinton. It was like the guy with the round face that plays sax and laughs a lot, or fucking, Skeletor that's like wagging his finger constantly and telling you what you can and can't do nonstop. And the Reagans, right? Like, don't do this, don't do that. Like, screw you if I want to do this thing. So like growing up, it always felt like if you were a nice person, you went for the left. And if you were a mean asshole and you just thought everyone, screw everyone but me because I've already got mine, then that was for the right. And then it's like, as you get yours, that's the concept, right? Like as you get older and you get more things and you get like a career and like some savings, you're like, I got mine now, screw everybody else. And it almost feels like, well, you just get cranky as you get older. And that's kind of the premise. And it's always like, well, we have to wait for the new generation to kick out the old generation, all those old, like, nasty people. And it's like, when will these Republicans die out, right? But they never kind of do because of that weird dynamic. But I don't think it's a change from being nice to being mean. But man, does it ever get played like that, especially in like school and media and like like Animaniacs, right? Like
Yeah.
Bill Clinton got to be playing the saxophone on that. And I think when they showed Bush, he was kind of like this nasty guy. So there's always been something with the media and the left, but I think that's also because like they might fund it a little bit more, right? Like when they had the McCarthyism and like all of the special agent in charge FBI where they were trying to root out communists from Hollywood, there was a huge backlash of like, all right, fine, we'll start putting Hollywood money into these leftist causes if you guys are going to be dicks about it on like the political side. And I think that never went away, and that's going to be the hardest thing ever for Republicans to ever like try to pretend like they're the good sweet guys and that the lefties and that Bernie's the mean old man. Like that sort of story has been put into motion, and it's got freaking legs at this point.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. I mean, that's really the only way that they derive all their power is positioning themselves as having like the moral high ground, is like being the good people that cares about the little guy. But you know, their policies and their ideology is really exposing the fact that it's really the complete opposite, you know, but they aren't willing to hear that. They're not willing to hear the fact. I mean, I guess it's just let them do it. Let Biden take 2024. I guarantee the Democrats are going to win 2024 because it's going to be the same play that we saw last time. Like there's not going to be, you know, honestly, I don't know. Like I feel like in a way, like the hatred for Trump was enough to potentially get a Biden in office. That's the only thing. It's like there wasn't any support for Biden. There wasn't any support for like Democrats or liberals, but I legitimately feel like, you know, if that there was enough of a groundswell of people who just hated Trump so much that they voted no matter what, you know.
I was just like, where like all this hatred came almost overnight, because if people hated Trump that much for that long, you would have heard about it, right? It wouldn't have just been a few contractors that he screwed over because he never paid him, and I'm sure that he does all that nasty, shady businessman crap.
Yeah,
but it was like it was like almost if someone was like, hey, did you know Hitler's been living in the US for the last 40 50 years and now he's running for president? You're like, what do you mean? You know, where did he come from? Why didn't somebody stop him before now? Why didn't they stop him when he had The Apprentice going for like 10 seasons and celebrities and stuff?
Exactly, dude. It's so funny. My mom, the liberal, loved Donald Trump. That was her favorite show. She was like, "You're fired. You're fired." Like she loved Donald Trump, dude. She loved the.
Have you ever brought that up?
Yeah.
Have you brought that up since? Like, hey, mom, remember when you used to love You're Fired?
No, no. It's whatever. We don't even talk about that stuff. So. Yeah, no.
Yeah, man, it's
funny.
Wild though, because like Joe Biden had at least a semblance of people liked Joe Biden because he was they had fond memories of Obama.
Yeah,
that's why they liked him, because he was attached to Obama at the hip, and mostly like the media kept Obama's like reign in this like friendly, happy zone, right?
Yeah.
And so like, and compared to Trump and all this chaos and like he's a Nazi and we impeached him like 10 times, this whole thing. So like he seemed like the safe, nice, old, codgerly old man. And because I remember talking to my sister, who's like the basic bitch Democrat, and that's like she was all about him because of that. You know what I mean? She was like, he's just a nice old man. But I sincerely think that he's lost a lot of that. And Obama, I think, has probably gotten a little bit of fucking, like, he doesn't have the same sway that he used to. And goddamn, has Joe Biden really just made himself unpopular. So I don't see how Donald Trump wouldn't win.
Yeah.
I really think that if they run again, I think we're going to get Return of the King. We're going to get Trump 2.0.
Yeah, they're not going to find just a bunch of ballots under the table while the water main bursts, and then they put paper up over all the windows and throw the media out. And
well, you're right, Thomas. Like if people actually voted, I think that he would have been president already right now. I don't know, man. I mean, your vote doesn't count. And then more than that, I still like. I've had smarter people on this show try to explain to me like the Electoral College, and it's just like, okay, so we vote, and this small group of people actually make the decision.
So
you're like, no, well, because they do, because they're supposed to. You're like, so there's
my favorite analogy here is from Thomas Sowell, I think, and he says that imagine you're on a cruise ship and the captain falls overboard and he dies, right? Now, do you want to take a vote across the entire cruise ship, including all the drunks that have just been eating and sleeping all day? and like it's like, you know, it's like 20-1 from tourists to people that work on the boat. Now, if you just vote for everyone on the ship gets an equal vote, and they all vote for Dan the party man, and he's going to be the new captain, right? But then all the crew is like, but Dan the party man doesn't know how to steer the boat. He doesn't know how all these like intricate, you know, things work. So like maybe the crew's the one that should really get to vote on who becomes the next captain. I always love that analogy because it kind of feels like that's sort of how it's set up.
What if the crew to the ship just want, now with the captain's dead, they just want to rob the place, and they're just fucking like, that's basically where we're at right now. Like the elites are just like,
well, so that's the point, is like, if they have another boat that's like waiting off in like the side that no one else knows about, then yeah, now you can just start like using up the resources. And
or what if all the crew just wants to go to Epstein's Island, and then yeah, see, there you go.
Well, in that case, you just got on the wrong boat, my friend.
Exactly. Well, no, they're like, hey, we're in charge now. Let's go to Epstein's Island. Yeah.
I mean, you just described, you know, the fall of Rome, but that's not going to happen again.
No. I mean, it doesn't happen to every single empire ever, right? So we're good.
At least not for a while, right? We've got like another few like millennia before that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sure.
I think we had another few good years in us. I'm not giving up hope either. Like, I think it's
well, I mean, here's the thing. The fall of the empire is going to hurt, but it's not necessary. It's not the end of the story.
Yeah.
Some of us are going to make it. We got to build another empire.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's what we're working on. We're working on building a new empire.
Do you think it's possible? Because at this point, I almost feel like the governments and these like the state, everyone's like, oh, the state. I feel like at this point, the state's an egregore and it outlives all of us. And even if you wiped out the people on the planet and you just re-raised a small community of like high moral ground people legitimately, if they just started reading and patterning themselves off the system itself breeds corruption and like caters to it. So I feel like it would never go away. You could wipe us all out and bring us all back and we'd kind of end up in the same spot.
Well, dude, it's that whole idea, right, of like hard times make hard people, and then that whole fucking scenario, right? So it's like we are so fucking weak right now. Nobody's fucking independent, not really. Nobody knows how to fucking like really forage all of your food. You're going to be just like, you don't use the grocery store anymore. You don't have any money. You're good. You're going to make it happen. Okay. Build a house. Where are you going to do that at? Like there's like, we are so fucking soft at this point. Like we've been so fucking like treated like children. We've been patronized our entire life on purpose because they don't want you to have this sort of like knowledge to keep yourself, you know, self-sufficiency. Right. And so like, all of these people, so let's say the government falls and implodes. You're right that the government is an egregore. It's a bigger idea because people need somebody to take care of them at this point. Like it's a cultural, it's a societal fucking disease that we're all, yeah, we're all fucking weak.
I don't know if it's a bad thing though. I don't think it's a net because this is the only way that you really have a chance for people to pursue dumb things like art and music and podcasts and theoretical discussions about whether or not giants lived thousands of years ago. If you're worried about if you have a place to sleep or if you're going to drink water or eat food this week, you don't give a shit about, you know, like some political conspiracy from 1,000 years ago or like, you know, the nuances between religions. So I
need a butt plug with a fidget spinner on the end, and I need to be able to get it from Amazon right now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, we have the luxury. Oh, Dan's asking, are we really live?
Yeah, we're live as shit.
Really live, Dan.
Live in the house. Live in the house. But yeah, man, the fact that we have the luxury to sit here and do this podcast and do all the things necessary, you know, I'm grateful. You know, I think that's one of the things we could just, you know, I'm grateful for so much. Yes, there's a lot of bullshit, a lot of crazy stuff happening in the world, but man, I don't know. I think these are the most interesting times. I think that these are, there's no other time I'd rather be alive. I'm glad I don't have to live in the medieval times and have to forage and find all my own stuff, dude. Like, it might be cool for a minute.
90s. I think 90s. I'd be okay with the 90s.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like right in between when like the internet was a thing you could use, but you could also smoke a cigarette on an airplane. Like if you could just keep reliving in that little time loop, that might be a great spot to live.
I want to wake up on Saturday morning in my jammies and watch some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah. Like, that sure would be fucking nice with a big bowl of fucking Fruit Loops or some Fruity Pebbles.
Watching Oklahoma City burn.
Exactly.
Yeah, buddy.
I wouldn't mind going back to the 90s and be like, you guys are in for quite a ride.
With my fucking giant bowl cut.
Yeah, dude. Dude. Yeah, I was like so into like, you know, all the 90s rap. Like it's such a funny
Hell
story.
yeah.
Like, dude, well, but the funny thing is like I was like complete like I wore like FUBU outfits. I didn't even know what FUBU meant or anything. Like I was like a total little gangster kid, dude. It was so funny. And this is so embarrassing to admit because I play guitar, like I'm a musician, but it wasn't until like maybe about 4 or 5 years ago that I even discovered 90s rock. Like that whole, I missed all of it, dude. I missed all of it because I was so busy listening to like Biggie Smalls and Outkast and all these guys. Like,
Oh, you
just
didn't
like,
get some
yeah,
Candlebox in there, bro?
dude, nothing. I missed out on everything. I'd never even heard like Alice in Chains or even Nirvana, dude. I'd heard a couple Nirvana songs, and so
You had to
like,
hear Soundgarden because they played that damn video
I
like
mean,
20
maybe,
times a day.
dude. And now I like listen to Soundgarden all the time. That's like probably my favorite from that era. And it's like it's so crazy because I'm like, you mean I could have been seeing these people live back then? I'm like, I completely missed out. I completely missed out on the 90s rock thing, and I'm so disappointed with myself and now I'm just like, oh god, it's pretty embarrassing. Pretty embarrassing.
Do you think someone 10 years from now is going to be like, you mean I missed out on mumble rap SoundCloud? Where
Yeah,
was I?
Where was I, dude? Exactly.
I could have
So-
had the cream of the crop.
Yeah, all these rappers died. You mean I could have seen what was that guy like Dab Baby? You mean I could have seen Dab Baby?
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
For that fucking asshole with the fucking jewel on his head.
Nah, I don't
22
even-
Savage, 21 Savage. There
No,
was a
that's-
22 Savage, and he
Uzi
was
Vert.
sleeping with 21 Savage.
Yeah.
Wow.
Little Uzi Vert. That's the one.
Okay.
Dude.
I think.
I don't
There-
hate, bro. I love all of that. I love the more ignorant the rap, the more I like it, and not in an
Hilarious.
ironic way. Like I legitimately like it.
Dude, I should come up with the band 33 Savage. There you go. 33 Savage. I like that.
I want to come on 21 plus Infinity Savage. 'Cause
There you go.
That's the cheat code, bro. No one can beat the plus Infinity.
That's hilarious. Man, yeah. Yeah, I like 33 Savage. I might look into that. All right.
So,
All right.
What's new in the works? What are you guys working on now?
Well, let's see here. So Unjected has kind of been the big thing that's kind of taken over a lot of my time and efforts. And I'm kind of, very excited about that whole thing. If anybody's listening that doesn't know about it, unjected.com is the world's original unvaccinated dating website. There's been some imitators that pop up, but yeah, so I got connected with them last year, helped them produce the show, The Unjected Show, which is every Friday night at 7. And it's a great show. We take calls from the audience. We talk about like all the crazy, what dating, being unvaccinated, dating in a heavily vaccinated world. So the founder, Shelby, she lives in Maui. She lives on Maui. So we've been doing a lot of coverage about the Maui situation, just in the final stages of editing a book. I'm helping them with the proofreading and editing, but we put together a book that's on pre-sale right now. It's called Burn Back Better. Burnbackbetterbook.com is on pre-sale. It'll be out October 1st, hopefully October 1st. But that pretty much just encapsulates everything we know up till now. And this is like boots on the ground reporting from Shelby and all of the people that she's been, she's been doing a lot, like leading a lot of the relief efforts and stuff, and like really doing a lot of important work out there. And so, yeah, man, Unjected is just kind of the thing now. That's going to be hopefully my full-time thing here shortly. And we're just kind of building that up, building that out. We just had to relaunch recently due to some sabotage. This is like the third time the entire platform has had to be relaunched due to like attacks, like mainstream media smear campaigns, getting deleted out of the App Store and the Play Store, and then sabotage earlier this year. And now we're back with a brand new site, and it's pretty awesome, unjected.com. And so that's kind of the big thing. Of course, I got Rebunked News, anywhere you get your podcasts. Writing articles, dude. I'm writing articles for T-Lab, Last American Vagabond, and running his Substack page. And yeah, and Ryan and I kick it here in Tennessee, like play music, and he's my dude. You know what I mean?
Hell
Like,
yeah, man. We just had Ryan on.
nice. Yeah, he's a good guy, man. I just everything's great, man. I just loving the Tennessee life. I'm doing like started my own handyman business as soon as I moved here. So I've just been doing a lot of like kind of construction type stuff. Oh, dude, Catherine and Paul, right? Paul and Catherine, they were at the Squatch Fest. They were a couple. they were at Squatch Fest, and I'm sure you might recognize them. But anyway, yeah, Squatch Fest in the house, boy. So much came out of Squatch Fest, dude. Like that was a very powerful, powerful event. That's where I got to meet you in person. I love that. But anyway, so they live in Virginia, and they're kind of renovating their house, and they're like, you should come out and like help us with some projects. We'll pay you. You can stay with us. I'm like, okay, cool. So Monday I'm driving out to Virginia to go kick it with them and spend the week like doing some like handyman stuff around their house. And I don't know, man, everything's just amazing out here. I'll tell you what, it's pretty
good, brother.
Very blessed, very blessed, very grateful. So
those are the best friends ever, the ones that like come over and help you like install like a deck or like, do like legit handyman stuff. Those tend to be like the friends that are, and it's not just because it's convenient, but like, I don't know, man. Cause then every time you step out on that deck, it's like, damn, dude, Scott's the man. You know what I mean? Like he hooked it up, bro.
Yeah. I'm very grateful and blessed, man. That's awesome. Yeah. So
Fucking and unjected, dude, that you're doing the Lord's work. We need more shit like that. It's like, I'm looking at my kids and I'm looking at the future, and I don't want any freaky fucking grandkids. I don't know how long these people are going to live anyways, honestly. I think, you know what I mean? I think people might start dropping in the next few years. But I think that we need to start getting back to things like, what do they call that? What do Indian folks do when they like prearranged marriages and shit?
Oh yeah. Arranged
you just
marriages.
Gotta find I think it's what we gotta do. We gotta start your kids are around our age. Oh, you guys are also purebloods. Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah. And just
I don't want to poke a hole, like too many holes here, because I love the idea, but like, is there any sort of vetting process? Because I'm just imagining like a horny dude has no problem saying, "Oh yeah, I've never been vaccinated," and then like now
it's the same asshole that got vaccinated for like a joint and a fucking donut.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so previous versions of the site, it was just the honor system. We always say just kind of just use your discretion as with all online dating. You know what I mean? But this new version, what we have is we do have a verification process in place. Basically, what that consists of is we had, have you guys ever heard of the Wellness Company? It's like Peter McCullough is like on their board and all this stuff. And they're this big like telehealth company, and they do the supplements and all this stuff. So they came in and they totally believe in the vision. And so after this last kind of round of sabotage, they came in and offered to help as like, offering their developers to help rebuild the site. And so they've come on as partners. So since they have like all this infrastructure for telehealth stuff, basically what we've come up with is, when you sign up to become a member, you go through a verification process. First step of that is meeting with a nurse from the wellness company, goes over a questionnaire, determines your vaccine status. And there's some trick questions in there to kind of elicit the answer that we want, to determine whether or not you've had the shot. And then they sign a legal affidavit that's legally binding that says that, yes, I've not received any mRNA injections, and that's like legally binding. And so if it ever comes down the road, they could be like, guilty of a crime if they lied on that.
I mean, that could be SA, right? Because things have been declared SA for along those same principles, where it's like, oh, I didn't have this condition, and then it turns out you did, and you pass the condition on. Yeah. Who's to say a spike protein can't be the new HIV?
Sure, exactly.
So we just don't recognize it yet.
Yeah, originally we were talking about.
Are we still streaming live on YouTube? This is crazy.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. Originally we were talking about doing like D-dimer tests or something to detect whether you had like any sort of like blood clotting issues, which I guess they have a way of like using that test to determine whether or not a person had a shot. I don't know exactly, but that we don't really have the infrastructure for that. But so right now it is at least one step further past the honor system approach, where it's like, you have to meet with somebody, you have to go through the verification process, and I want to
predict this now, dude. You might be at the forefront of some crazy shit, because just like Monsanto, right? You had the farmers that were like, we're never going to use Monsanto, and then the auditors came in and they were like, hey, I hate to break this to you, bud, but you've been growing Monsanto for the last 5 years. Like, you might have this platform and someone's like, I've never been jabbed, and they go through the process, and you're like, hey dude, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you got it.
Honestly, that's the world that we live in. And like, because I mean, we had Ryan on the show, and he was like talking to us about that and how these are like self-distributing. You know what I mean? How
self-amplifying.
Yeah, and I'm just like, God damn, because like I was working with normies, a bunch of normies that were all vaxxed. There was only like out of like 100 people, there was like 2 people that weren't. It was like me and 2 other people. I was like, I had to have got shedded on.
Yeah.
You know
It's
what I
so
mean?
wild because like the normies are like, oh my god, that guy's coughing, he's gonna give me COVID, and then like you're here like, oh that
Dude,
idiot,
I was so much
not
more afraid
coughing,
of
they're gonna
them.
shed on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's great.
Anyways, brother, I know you got to get going.
Cool.
Why don't you throw your plugs one more time? Tell us rebunkednews.com, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, rebunked.news is the main website, but I put it there on the screen. If you guys go to libertylinks.io/rebunked, you can find links to all the shows, the articles, social media, the whole deal. So, yeah, man. Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you having me on. Let's do this again.
Oh, yeah, man. Anytime. We
Anytime.
love you, brother.
Cool. Awesome.
Cheers, man.
Thomas, good to connect with you finally, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, likewise, bro. We've been
Yeah,
talking
I know.
forever, man.
Forever. So this is awesome. Sweet. All right, peace.
Peace.
So you've decided to listen to the Reality Czars podcast. How brave of you. Nate and Paranoid American may think that they're merely discussing cryptozoology, interdimensional realities, and crude humor. But know this, listening to this podcast puts you on a certain list, the Clinton body count, if you will. The truths they reveal are not for the faint of heart, nor the blissfully ignorant. Listen if you dare, but remember, some doors, once opened, cannot be closed. And now, your hosts, those audacious explorers of forbidden knowledge, the Reality Czars, Nate and Paranoid American.